All right. So now what I want us to look at now is basically the basic cast diagram, right? So now, firstly, I know some of you are wondering in terms of what is this cast diagram, right? So now, firstly, I know this cast diagram, it basically help us to, to understand or to remember the signs in which some of the trig function or ratio are positive within a certain quadrant, right? And now, firstly, these cast diagrams are categorized according to quadrants, right? So you have this one, which is your quadrant one, right? You have quadrant one, we have this one, which is your quadrant two, and you have this one, which is defined as your quadrant number three, and this one as your quadrant number four, right? So we are saying this one, basically they help you to understand or to remember in terms of which ratios are going to be positive and in which quadrant are some of the ratios positive, right? So now firstly, let's understand. Now, these quadrants are given in terms of degrees, right? So here you have 0 degrees, here you have 90 degrees, you have 180 degrees, you have 270 degrees, and you have a revolution, which is 360 degrees, right? Now, one of the mnemonic that we use to remember in terms of which of our ratio is going to be positive in which quadrant is what we call we use this all students take coffee, right? Take coffee, right? So basically this is C, right? So we are saying now all we are saying in quadrant number one, it represent all, which means now in quadrant number one, your sine of theta is going to be positive. Your cos of theta is going to be positive, and your tan of theta is going to be positive, right? So these all here means that all the sides are positive within this first quadrant, right? However, now the second one, you see it's students, which means it's only this one, which is your sine, right? So which means in your second quadrant, the only ratio that is going to be positive is your sine of theta, which means the ratio of sine of theta is positive in your first quadrant, and your second quadrant, right? This is quadrant number one and quadrant number two, right? So that's where that's where your sine is positive. Now, then it take, which means tan, which means the ratio of your tan theta is going to be positive in your third quadrant, right? Which means your value of your theta is going to be positive in your first quadrant, right? So basically, which means tan of theta is positive in quadrant number one and also quadrant number three. Whereas now, the last one is coffee, right? All students take coffee, which means cos of theta is only positive in the last quadrant, right? Is only positive in the last quadrant. So which means now when you are given let's say your cos of theta in your second quadrant, or they want you to find out what is your cos of theta in your second quadrant, the value that you're going to find, it is going to be negative, right? Out again. So now that's what in terms of your ratios, what they mean within the cast diagram. Now, I want us to understand also this cast diagram, right? So what does this mean? This basically means here. Now, your value of your cos of theta here is going to be negative, and your tan of theta here is going to be negative, right? So which means also their ratios are going to be negative. Similarly here, the ratio of what? The ratio of sine of theta is going to be negative, and also the ratio of let's say your cos of theta is going to be negative. In this one, This one, what are you going to have here? Your sine of theta is going to be negative, and also your tan of theta is going to be negative, right? Now, let's try in terms of understanding in terms of what do we mean when we say that. Now, remember, let me just draw a Cartesian plane here. Remember that in your Cartesian plane, now here, usually here you have, this is your x, this is your y, this is still your x, this is your y, right? And this is the positive side of y, this is the positive side of x, this is the negative side, this is the negative side, right? So which means, can you see that everything in your first quadrant, all of them, they are going to be positive because indeed all of them are positive here, right? But now, if you do your ratio, if you find out what is going to be the ratio for sine in this quadrant, right? So sine is going to be given by what? Remember, sine is what? Let's say this was your example, right? Let's say now here you have your theta, right? Or let's say this is your theta, right? So can you see that now if this was your theta, you are going to have what? They say find sine. Sine is going to be what? It's so, which means it's opposite, and which means your opposite was going to be which side? The y side, which is positive, right? Which means it was going to be positive y, right? Sine of theta, it was going to be positive y, over which one? Your hypotenuse, which is your hypotenuse, and your hypotenuse is always positive, right? This side here represents your hypotenuse, which can also be abbreviated as R. Are we together? Right now, can you see that indeed this was going to be positive? Now, let's say now you are looking for cos of theta, right? Cos of theta here, can you see that your cos in your second quadrant, it was going to be adjacent. And what is going to be adjacent? Adjacent, it was going to be this part, which is this x, right? And x here is negative. So this it was going to be negative x over what is going to be the other one? It was going to be r, which is your hypotenuse, right? So can you see you are dividing a negative with a positive? So therefore, the entire thing, it is going to be what? It is going to be negative. I want to get. So which means the entire answer is going to be negative, right? Now, let's say also you are looking for, let's say you are looking for now your tan of theta. Now we are still looking at this one. Can you see that your tan of theta, remember tan of theta is given by what? It is given by opposite over adjacent, right? So the opposite side, it was going to be this side, which is the positive y side, right? It was going to be the positive y side. And now your it's toward, which means your adjacent, it was going to be the negative x, right? So can you see here you are still dividing a negative a positive with a negative, which means you are getting a result of a negative, right? So which means indeed this tan is negative in your second quadrant, and your cos is negative in your second quadrant, right? I just wanted to give you just a brief summary in terms of what we mean when we say the other one is positive and the other one is negative. Are we together?